So today we're going to be talking about the biggest difference between the way customers are adopting software versus the way that they were 10 years ago. So today we have Kelly here from Optimize IS. She's our director of client experience. Kelly, if you want to give like a short intro and then we can jump into it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ben. As Ben mentioned, Director of Client Experience, I've been with Optimize a few months and really enjoying sharing the Airtable experience and helping customers with their workflows. I've been using Airtable since 2020. I worked at a communications company and built out an entire process to manage project programs, portfolios, and associated items for the security PMO team that I ran.
That's awesome. So you've seen how a lot of software, I think you've actually implemented a lot of software at the different companies you've been at, and you've also been the purchaser of those, the maintainer of those. So how are you seeing today, like when a company purchases a software or they're investing a lot of money into a software for their team, how is that different now?
Yeah, it's really different. And as I'm thinking through it, it even goes back farther. So some of it has to do with changes in how software is delivered. If you think of, we used to buy an Adobe license and now we buy Adobe by the subscription. And it's been a burden on IT companies to change with the financial models from a finance perspective. So that's one component to it. But the other component is what buyers, customers, like the end users of software are getting. So instead of a big behemoth of a software that, yes, was very nice that it could be written off as a capital expense, it's now moved to an operating expense. Therefore, we have to get different uses out of it. And so what we're seeing is that companies are buying sometimes more softwares instead of going all in with just one, which is fantastic because you can get what you need at the different levels. But what we then see is there's not one maintainer of this one given software because there's a blend of softwares. And so the difference really is instead of, if I was, director of a department, I have a specialist in whatever is my, marketing deployment software or my content management software. What's happening is, tools like Airtable are being adopted across many different teams for many different uses. And then the question becomes, who's the expert? Who's going to maintain this? Who's going to implement it? And most companies don't have just that one person that owns and understands, and then also really helps develop and implement the different kind of workflows that need to be solved with that software.
Yeah, I think we've even seen that throughout different phases of the project. There may be a different internal owner because really, like if I look at building Airtable, let's take for example somebody building Airtable for a marketing department, for a marketing like project management department or project management in a marketing department. A lot of times the person who's starting the project isn't the person who is our primary stakeholder at the end. The person in the weeds in the middle of the project, sometimes they get shuffled out and they're now like the department has decided, okay, that's not going to be their day job either. So talk a little bit about how that impacts this as well.
Yeah, I think what happens is there's usually maybe an Airtable champion or someone is looking for different ways to solve a very manual problem. And they find Airtable, they get really excited about it, and they start implementing it. But it's maybe not the decision maker, or it's maybe not the end user. It's the person that's probably trying to fix, whatever is being handled manually. I sometimes think of it as like that person in the middle. It could be like a senior manager who needs to compile all of the information below them and then make sure that it goes up to, a higher level of management for reporting. And they task someone to go fix this so that it's less manual. And that works, but what doesn't always happen is we aren't always taking into consideration at that level of what do the recipient of the dashboards want, or what's the individual experience of the people that need to use it day in and day out. And so part of us, doing a good deployment of software and a buyer of software looking for somebody to help them implement it is making sure that we're truly understanding who has to touch this, what are the different user personas along the way, and are they having a good experience?
Yeah, I feel like this has been a hot topic here at Optimize the past week, at least in my head, is user personas, because we've had some really big projects with some really big customers start, and there's when you're dealing with like anywhere from even a 10-person team to a 150 person team, there's often at least like 5 distinct like user personas that are going to be using the system, depending on how far, I would say, like up the chain, or how far out like distributed you get with vendors. Like understanding each person's user persona is super important. So
Very much. And then, you also have to think of not just like the depth, but also the width of things that they're managing. You mentioned marketing. Some teams with content management might have 50 campaigns being run at the same time.
mhm.
And if I'm, a creator actually making some of the media, I really right now only care about the ones that I'm working on. I don't want to have to sift through the different information. So one, it's making sure I have the right access to the things that are important to me, but also the things that are not important to me aren't in my way that I have to sift through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually when I'm starting it out, similar to that, I'm always, there's like a acronym called CRUD. And I'm always trying to find like the CRUD for each role, and CRUD is create, read, update, delete. So for any of the given data sets that this person could interact with, what do they need to be able to create new ones of? So do they need to be able to create a new marketing brief? Do
Mm-hmm.
they need to be able to see or read all of the existing marketing briefs? If they need to be able to update one, which fields can they update? At the same time that they're updating, which fields should they be able to see? And then what should they be able to delete?
Yep.
So that's like a common term. So if you're interested in continuing this and learning, why would an enterprise customer want to use a consultant, use Optimize IS to help with Airtable specifically? That's the sole tool that we help businesses with specifically, is help them implement Airtable. Click the video on the end screen and we'll cover that. So the video here in the end screen, it should be like, I don't know if I'm on the left side or the right side. It's like a box in the middle. You can click on it and go learn why you would want to use a partner with Airtable.